And Paul, before leaving on this tour, Macron pledged a change of approach in the French presence on the African continent. What does that mean?
Well, it really means two things. One is a change in the detail of the way France is deploying its military forces. So already French troops have pulled out of Mali and Burkina Faso, but in the remaining bases, France is planning to now share these with the national armies of the countries concerned. So rather than those being seen as, if you like, a statement of the old colonial powers' military presence in the continent, he wants to develop these bases as centers for training, for peacekeeping preparation, working very much with the host countries. So that's quite a big, strong message on the military side. But he also wants to change the whole tone around France's relationship with Africa. So a much bigger focus on youth, on culture, on changing the way that French people perceive Africa as well as African perceptions of France. So, for example, he made a point of making this big speech before this African tour in Paris. And when he was asked, why are you doing it there? He said, well, I want to get the message across to France as well. This isn't just a message to Africa about a changing French approach. He wants French people to perceive Africa in a new and much more positive way.
When you talk about the African perceptions of France, we know that France has been quite unpopular on the continent in recent years. So why is Gabon being so welcoming at this time, just as the Sahel region has kicked all French troops out?
Well, one of the key dimensions of French policy over the last several years, but which hasn't really had much media coverage or public attention, is a big focus on support for environmental strategy, not just climate change, but also biodiversity. And the reason that Macron is in Gabon, arriving there this evening, is for a summit on biodiversity really focused on protecting the Congo Basin rainforest. Gabon is one of the countries that has a share, if you like, of the Congolese rainforest, which is, Macron argues, the most powerful absorber of climate gases in the world. It actually does more to counter climate change, if you like, than the Amazon basin in scientific terms. And so he's in Gabon really for that environmental reason, but he also then is going to go on to other countries in the region, to Angola, to Congo-Brazzaville, and to Democratic Republic of Congo. So in Angola, the focus will be on food security. Then in Congo-Brazzaville, again, an attempt to sort of change the perceptions of the French relationship with Africa. And then Democratic Republic of Congo, of course, a huge country, very important. In a sense, he wants to support the stabilization of democracy, the stabilization of governance that's been going on under the current president there, President Tshisekedi.
Is Macron also, though, trying to counterbalance the rising Russian and China influence on the continent, and can he be successful in that?
He is trying to counterbalance the rising Russian and Chinese influence, but not in a narrow sense. He was asked in Paris, so are you really competing against Russia and China? He said, well, I'm not trying to compete by just having more soldiers, for example, as the Russians, as we know, have deployed the Wagner military mercenary company in Central African Republic and in Mali. It's more a case of changing the French approach and more widely the European approach so that it seems more attractive. So, for example, he stressed to actually French business leaders who were at the meeting in Paris that France needed to up its game. France shouldn't just assume that because it has traditional connections in Africa, people will want to buy French products. His argument was that French companies needed to offer better service, better products, really prioritize Africa and treat it with respect as a market. So it's a question of shifting the perception, not so much countering the
Okay.
Chinese by trying to outbid them in financial terms, but actually just offering a better French economic offer or a better European economic offer, so that sometimes African countries think that that is worth taking rather than the Chinese one. But
Okay.
I think we need to draw a difference between Russia and China. Russia, with its focus on security, the French view that with much more wariness, whereas China, they just regard as a major economic actor who will understandably be very present in Africa because the Chinese have many things to offer African countries.
Okay. We'll leave it there. Paul Melly joining us from London. Thank you.
Thank you.